if everything goes to plan today, this should, and I emphasise should, be a bit of a formality as we take care of Scotland and Nigeria and just ease our way into the knockout rounds of the World Cup. It should end up like that. Hello and welcome to part 2 of the World Cup leg of the Expedition of Gold. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode we have our final 2 group games at the World Cup, which, by the way, I don't think I mentioned yesterday, is in Germany, our old stomping ground. So we've got Scotland up first, then Nigeria. The group situation as it stands right now is thus. Nigeria won their first game. No, they drew against Scotland in their first game and then have just beaten Saudi Arabia. So if we can now go and beat Scotland, we'll be 2 points clear at the top of our group with just Nigeria to play. So in effect, already through. In fact, I think a win today does put us through. Even a draw, we're mostly there with a game to spare. But if we can beat Scotland, we're there. Wow, that's good. I hadn't even worked that out for myself until I just looked at that. Marvellous stuff. Atletico have got a new manager. That's interesting. What was wrong with the other one? Who knows? So this is the team that we're going to be playing today. We've tweaked it slightly from the team that played against Saudi Arabia, just trying to find what our best combinations might be in both midfield and defence. So this is what we're going for today. It won't be what we use going forward, particularly Ehiogu at left back, but Chris Carter not really as fit as I would like, so we'll rest him for this one. I'm going to try and be a little bit more sensible about rotating players in this campaign so that we don't end up with everyone down on 80% condition by the time we get through to the semi-finals like we did at the Euros a couple of years ago. So our team to face Scotland is Coote in goal, a back four of Ehiogu, Ellis, Murray and Colwell. We've got Weston, Godfrey and Burgess in midfield. Godfrey's the man who comes in with, who was it we've dropped? Osai drops down to the bench. And yeah, it's Carter who drops out of that defence. And then up front, it's the same front three. I'd like to use these front three all through this World Cup. We've got the new superstar Lewis King in behind Bennett and Liam Wells. And today's the day we need Liam Wells to arrive. He's actually not scored a goal for England this year. I think he's got a little bit of stage fright because he's closing in on Harry Kane's record. But 4 games without a goal for England is completely unheard of for Liam Wells. And there's no better way to remedy that than a hat-trick against Scotland to get us through to the knockout rounds of the World Cup. So, not that we're putting too much pressure on you, Liam, but you know what you got to do. They've got Alston up front. I can't believe I clicked on him. That guarantees he's going to score. This is the guy who we signed for a lot of money at Ipswich 10 years ago now, and he was a complete flop. It looks like he did actually come good in the end for Ipswich. Went to Angers, where he would have played with Sue, who's in our midfield now, and he's made it back into the Premier League with Derby as well. So ended up having a pretty decent career. Is there anyone else we know in this Scotland team? Don't think so. Can't believe Alston's made it to a World Cup though. Guarantee none of you expected that to happen when you were watching me stumble around with Ipswich 10 seasons ago. But make it to a World Cup he has. I imagine if I tried really hard, I could find a clip where I'd tell you he'll go on to play at the World Cup. Or something along those lines. And if I was really skillful at all this, I'd edit that in now, but I'm not. James Burgess has just scored an absolute beauty, by the way. A couple of you mentioned how I said I was going to rest him and then kept him on for the full 90 minutes in the last game. This is why I keep him on for the full 90 minutes. He's our captain. He's our inspiration. He is the best midfield player in the world. And this is something he's added to his repertoire since I left Tottenham, because he wasn't doing this for Spurs while we were there, but he can now just stick free kicks into the back of the net as well. I mean, it wasn't the best free kick in the world. The keeper's not going to be that happy with that. But he's our captain and he scores free kicks. And England like it when they have a captain what scores free kicks and stuff. Ehiogu massively out of position at left back. I don't know how long this experiment's going to last, but he might be a superstar there. But the way fullbacks are so important in our team, it is the... I didn't really have much in the way of a backup left back. That's my problem. Dom Ellis has just got sent off. So the experiment with having Ehiogu at left back is going to last 12 minutes because he's going over across to centre back now, and we're going to bring on. Should we bring on Stephen Willis or give Carter? I mean, look at Carter. He's down to 83. There's no point resting him in the first place if we're going to bring him on. So let's bring on Stephen Willis, and we'll bring him on. We're going to bring him on for Godfrey, the other guy who came into the team. So the 2 guys new to the team today drop immediately out of the team. We're going to drop Bennett back into midfield, and we're just going to have King and Wells up front like that. and that will do. So, yeah, Ellis and Godfrey, thanks for coming to the World Cup. Dom Ellis, you're never going to play for England again, just in case you were wondering, because you just got sent off after 12 minutes in a massively important game. But poor old Godfrey's going to feel a little bit hard done by it as well. But there you go. We'll never know if Kieran Ehiogu was going to be a good left-back or not, because he's straight back into the team at centre-back where he should be now. Right, Bennett, bursting through from midfield. He's playing as the box-to-box midfielder now rather than a striker. It is where he played for us, I want to say, at the Confederations Cup. It might have been at the Euros 2 years ago. But we've previously used Bennett a lot in midfield. It's only in the last 12 months or so that we've moved him forward to play up front where he plays his club football. But, you know, I like to move people around based on where they play in their club. Liam Wells is still playing as a winger for Spurs every week, which baffles me because he's such a good striker. I think that's why he's losing the ability to score goals for England, because he's just not played as a goal scorer for Spurs. It's all about Ruben Iribarren there still. But now, from the penalty spot, Wells does have the opportunity to grab his first goal of the year, his first goal of this World Cup campaign. Don't mess it up, Liam. Come on, lad. And it's saved. Liam Wells, what's up with him? I mean, I don't think we can win the World Cup with Liam Wells in this kind of form. We've been so reliant on him for the last 2 tournaments. I mean, across the Euros and the Confederations Cup, I imagine Wells must be up to 15 goals across those 2 tournaments. He's been absolutely unplayable. But he's on a 6.1. I'm going to be substituting him again in a minute. It's going to be the second game in the group stage where he's not stayed on the pitch until the end of the match. What on earth do we do to fix Liam Wells? Is he just a winger now? Do we have to play him out wide to get the best out of him? And if so, I'm really annoyed with Spurs for ruining him. And now we don't need to worry because he can hear me. And he's grabbed the goal. Liam Wells is back, everybody. England go route 1. And to be fair, we're down to 10 men, so who cares? It's lumped forward by Coote. King flicks on. Wells is one-on-one. And that's the Liam Wells we all remember. And yeah, you kiss your hands and wave your arms about, Liam, because I think you've just booked our spot in the first knockout round of the World Cup, because surely we're not going to mess it up from here. Just checking the Football Manager gods aren't listening. Right, second substitution time. I am trying to look for fitness here as well, not just who's playing well, who's not. And I'm worried about Ehiogu because he's on a yellow card. He's tiring a little bit. We're going to bring Thomas O'Brien into the team. Thomas O'Brien is another youngster who's been on loan at Leicester all season. He's a Man City player but never actually played for them. We've given him 3 caps over the course of the season. I just seem to have a thing for young centre-backs at the moment. We've got Murray and Ehiogu there. Neither of them are week in, week out first-choice centre-backs for their clubs. And O'Brien's definitely the same. That's his name, wasn't it, O'Brien? Oh, I thought Murray had given away a penalty there, but luckily he has not. Are they going to lose a player as well? No, just a yellow card. But, I mean, Dom Ellis aside, we don't really have any established older centre-backs, and Ellis has just shown that sometimes youth is better because youth doesn't go and get itself sent off 12 minutes into a massively important game. So that's why the crucial thing about successful international football is playing untried early 20s players at centre-back. Write that down. You'll need that if you ever get this far. Right. Are we going to just put this game to bed now? A third goal would be rather welcome at this juncture. Burgess hovering on the edge of the area. Wells has come very deep, which is a problem when he's the only striker that we've got. But we're keeping possession rather nicely, he says. But then we lose it immediately. And it's Alston with the cross to the guy who should have got sent off a minute ago. And Scotland have a goal back. It's 2-1 with 17 minutes to go. Scotland are in the ascendancy. I mean, a draw is not a complete disaster. We're playing Nigeria next, so even a draw in this game is okay, but it would be nice to have things wrapped up with a game to spare so that we can do a little bit more rotation of the players against Nigeria, which is what we'd ideally want to do. But circumstances might be against us because this team is getting tired. We're going to bring Samuel Siu on to play as the box-to-box midfielder for the last 10 minutes, get some experience out there. Hopefully he'll know Alston's game and can keep an eye on him and just calm things down a little bit. 138 caps or whatever he's got now. And now James Burgess is injured because for the second game in a row, I've not brought him off when he needed resting. It's only an arm injury, which fingers crossed won't keep him out for any length of time. But an injury to James Burgess that keeps him out for more than like one game is going to be an absolute disaster for us. Because as you've seen today, without Burgess in the team, we wouldn't have won that match. I'm worried about what might be wrong with James Burgess. Yeah, Dom Ellis isn't playing again, and we'll tell the media as such. Right, Burgess. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, hold on. We'll be able to play with protective equipment. Well, who cares then? What's actually wrong with him? A strained wrist. Well, of course he's going to carry on playing then. Right, let's go play Nigeria. False alarm. Having already qualified, we are rotating the team a little bit for the Nigeria game. So Carter comes back in at left back, with Ehiog moving back across into the middle, and Roger Rents comes in for Colwell at right back, as I believe he did during the group stages of the Euros 2 years ago. So that might be a good sign. Osai comes back in to the midfield, with Weston dropping down to the bench, who's one of many players who's one yellow card away from suspension. Breaker comes into the midfield, with James Burgess dropping down to the bench. He's got his special wrist strap on, but there's just no point risking him. He came into the World Cup injured. Let's not try and break him any further. So Breaker comes into the team. And again, he's another veteran from the Euros a couple of years ago. I kind of want to rest Liam Wells, but at the same time want him to play himself into some form. So he's going to start, but probably not end the game. I don't know if I'm going to end up regretting that, but Breaker needs match fitness anyway, so that's one of the other reasons to bring him into that midfield. I might even... Yeah, Carter's captain today. Yeah, very good. Yes, we've looked good in training. I might even bring Burgess on up front for 20 minutes at the end, just to give Wells a bit of a rest. Get a few more games into Burgess's hamstring, because remember, he's out with a wrist injury now, but it was a hamstring injury that made him a doubt for the first game of the tournament, so it probably wouldn't hurt to give him 20 minutes just to keep the hamstring loose. Is that how these things work? I'm not exactly a hamstring expert, but we don't have masses of quality in backup up front, so we kind of need Liam Wells to get himself into some kind of form. Worryingly as well, we've just had a media message come through saying we're 2 games away from a record unbeaten streak of it for England. We're 14 games unbeaten at the moment. The record is 16. In order to win the World Cup, we need to break the record. Although in theory, we could lose this game and then still win the World Cup, so we don't have to break the record. But still, that's a little bit of extra pressure we don't need. Oh, England usually lose around about now. You're going to lose now? I can just hear the nasty media questions now. Right, this slightly... I mean, it is only slightly rotated, but this slightly rotated team isn't looking that great. And we've just given away a penalty. It's Callum Bennett who gives the penalty away. I don't even know what he was doing all the way back there. He's supposed to be playing up front. And... Coote saves the penalty, and hopefully now we surge forward and grab a goal and stop messing around, really. I mean, Nigeria are obviously not the worst team in the world. They've already qualified from the group as well, but we should be able to beat them. If we're going to win the World Cup, we need to be able to beat Nigeria. They're not up there in the top 10 in world football, and we're going to be playing against teams that are, presumably. Right, Rents crosses to King, who can't get his shot away properly. Murray's very far forward. If they break on us now, we're in trouble. Luckily, they don't. Right, Lewis King not having the best of games. So we'll bring Scott Cook-Simmons on. We had to bring one winger, and it was always... I mean, he was England's vice-captain when I arrived. I've basically ruined his England career. But he did keep coming off the bench in the Euros, and it always worked quite well. So even though we've got Osai there who could push further forward, I feel like it's the occasion for Scott Cook-Simmons to get his only appearance in this World Cup. And we're going to take Wells off. I'm not going to bring on James Burgess. That just seems silly. Josh Merry can come on, who I think he's someone you've met before. He's been playing for Norwich for a little while. The other option is not Josh Clark. Kieran Robles, who was at Man City, I think. Yeah, and went to West Brom, and he's had a pretty decent season with West Brom. In fact, the form he's in, Robles is going to come on instead. Age 30, it's only his 6th appearance for England, so we're asking a lot of him, but, you know, he could be our Jamie Vardy, although like a reverse Vardy, because he's just been sat in Man City's reserves all his career and then suddenly got some goals age 30, which is not quite the Jamie Vardy story. It's got less of the romance to it. Bennett's not playing well either, so we'll bring Merry on for him and just really emphasise the fact that we don't have much reserve firepower. If anything happened to Wells and Burgess and Bennett, or King, or any of these good attacking players that we've got, if they picked up proper injuries, we're going to really struggle in this World Cup. And we're not even going to beat Nigeria here with those guys on the pitch. So, goodness me, do we need to keep him fit. And Robles has just missed an absolute sitter. That might be the only opportunity that man ever gets to score in a World Cup. And he completely blew it. We've ended 0-0, which is enough to top our group. But, goodness me, did we make hard work of that. But then our next game is against Iran. So, and then Denmark or Holland. Where are they in the world? So, Denmark are 20th. Holland 7th. Iran, we should probably check as well. Iran are 50th in the world. And to give it some context, Nigeria 23rd. So we should cruise past Iran. And then Holland will be a difficult game if we get that far and if they get that far. Otherwise, I'm not as confident as I was after that last performance. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. And thank you very much for watching.